Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Catholic Founders Podcast. Happy Feast of the Ascension. Man, I am in a good mood today. I just got done listening to some Huey Lewis in the News. How can you not be in a good mood if you have just listened to some of that good old classic rock? All right, today we have a mini episode for you because the 3 podcasts I had scheduled last week to record ended up all rescheduling for various reasons. So I'm really hoping that it's actually divine providence and not my breath or something like that. So today is going to be a little bit different. We're just going to go over a couple things that I tend to reflect on about the feast or on the Feast of the Ascension. So let's get into it. The first one is this idea that the apostles could not fully mature in their apostolic work or experience the fullness of the calling of their mission unless Jesus had left them. Right? Generally speaking, you could consider this idea that Jesus, if he was there with them, it'd be so easy to just constantly go to him when in times of challenge and say, hey, this is really hard. What do we do? But they needed that opportunity to go and do the things that they had been trained to. And also, I don't know if this is exactly the purpose behind it, but you could consider it almost like from a scalability perspective, right? If every apostle has to constantly go back and talk to one guy in person to Jesus, they're going to have some scalability issues with getting the gospel spread to all nations, as they were called to, right? So it's just a very interesting thing to reflect on that we have this training. They had this training, and they went through the ups and downs of the experience of Jesus' life, his public life, his ministry, his death and resurrection. And they knew, they fully believed and understood what this was about. But now it came time to effectively test that, right? And this is not the idea that we are saved through our own work or anything like that, but that because we believe and because we understood what Jesus had done, we can go out and do this, right? I say we, but the apostles, they understood what had been done for them, and they knew that they needed to go share this with the rest of the world because they wanted everybody else to experience this, everybody else to know this. And I just think it's a really beautiful thing that you train and you hope and you trust that these apostles, they're going to go and they're going to succeed. And Jesus wouldn't leave them unless he had confidence that they would go out and succeed. And of course, we know that he supported them through the Holy Spirit. So it's not like he's leaving them completely alone. The Holy Spirit's coming. And there's actually a part in John's Gospel leading up to the Ascension in the readings, in the farewell discourse, that talks about how the Holy Spirit will not come until Jesus goes back to the Father. So it's kind of like we need this fulfillment, right? Something that often comes to my mind as well is this idea of sadness, right? A lot of people would think, hey, Jesus is leaving them. How come they're not sad, right? And we know they're not sad because in the gospel it says that they rejoiced and they praised him unceasingly in the temple. So they were not sad. And you ask yourself, where does that come from? Why wouldn't they be? Why wouldn't they be, kind of sad that their teacher's gone? They don't have their friend with them anymore. But it again comes back to this principle that they understood the faith. They believed and they knew that, Jesus is truly not truly gone. And this is, kind of my second point I like to think about is this part of the confidence. I like to believe that part of the confidence they had was due to the fact that they knew what the Eucharist was. They understood fully what it means for them to celebrate the Eucharist, that Jesus would always be with them, physically present in the Eucharist. So what need would there be to be sad? They have a mission now. Now that they understand the truth, they get the experience. They have the privilege to go out and evangelize to all nations. So there's no need to be sad. So I guess you could say 2 things, right? One, they have confidence in the Eucharist. I personally believe there's no specific reference to this in the gospel, but I believe that's a core reason why they didn't have any fear, because they knew he was there. And it's a core, principle to our faith. So they have faith in the Eucharist. And number 2, they are so excited to be able to go tell others about what has been done. So why wouldn't they be excited? Why would they be sad that they can't go with Jesus to heaven, for example? And I think the same is true for us. We really need to take a moment on this day to say, I've been baptized, I've been confirmed, I'm a soldier of Christ, and do I understand what has been given to me, what this opportunity for eternity is? If I do, how can I not do something about it? And again, this applies to all of us in our businesses. How can I reflect this to my employees, to my customers, to my suppliers, anybody I interact with? How can they know that there's something different about me? How can they, become curious and say, hey, what's up with that guy? And that would give us the opportunity to then share why we have this joy, why we have this excitement. So just a good reminder for us to recommit to our confirmation vows. our confirmation, this indelible mark that's been put on our soul. We oftentimes don't see it, out of sight, out of mind. So we need to have reminders like today to get back out there and do this. And especially entrepreneurs, we have been given so many skills, so many opportunities. We have a lot of responsibility to live up to those, right? We must give back to God because he's been very gracious and very generous towards us. So this will be the third thing then. The final thing here to reflect on is the same way that Jesus left and gave his apostles the opportunity to go out and fully experience being apostles to the world. We need to do the same thing for our employees when it comes to different skills, right? We teach them and we show them how it's done, and eventually we need to let them do it on their own. And this is very important because they need to have that confidence. They need to learn to have the confidence to do it on their own. If we're constantly holding their hand, checking their work, they're never going to give their best because they know, hey, Silas is going to check on it and it's going to be fine in the end. But when they have that slight pressure to do it well because they're the one who has to have the final measurement of value of being done well, it also can inspire them to work harder and to improve your overall result of your product, your business. This is also scalable. If you don't have this, you're just going to be stuck doing all the work at some point, and again, never be able to scale your impact, right? Maybe to an extent, but it's going to be much more limited. And there's one other thing to consider about this idea of the value of work for man, not man for work. And this is again covered in Laborem Exercens and Rerum Novarum extensively. But this principle that the value is for the employee. The human has dignity. And as employees of ours, we're doing a disservice to them if we do not help them to learn and internalize those new skills. So there's constantly going deeper and deeper on the skills, learning new things. And once they can do it on their own, they have that confidence to continue doing it on their own. And they become more valuable in the market. More valuable to you as a business owner, but also more valuable to maybe somebody else. So it's a constant competition for talent, but you have a responsibility not to withhold them from that. They need to be able to earn something, as well from the work they do, something fulfilling, something that adds to their person. It's not just about working and trading time for money, as all entrepreneurs know that. We're trying to get out of that race, and we should be encouraging our employees to do the same by adding skills. And if they become so valuable that another firm poaches them from us, we should be happy for them. If we can't afford to pay them more and they need more for their family, we should be happy. Yes, it's challenging. We have to go hire somebody to backfill their position, but that's part of our job. We are not called to, build a kingdom of these statues that just are with us and they never leave. Talent is not like that. We are put in different people's lives for a period of time. No longer, no shorter. God has us in a person's life for a period of time, and we need to understand that and do our best to reflect Christ's love to them for that time. And again, it's very hard for business owners to accept this sometimes. Some of my best people that I've hired in the past, one of the best hires I ever made, ended up only being with me for a very short time. I was extremely sad when he left, but it was clear that he was meant for bigger things. So I had to just say, you know what, I'm really happy for you. I was very, very sad myself because I wanted this person on my team for the long term. But they were clearly more skilled than the opportunity I had for them, and they're going on to crush it today. So we have to accept that as well. So I appreciate you guys coming in today for this quick CF mini episode. A couple last things I'll mention is if you are interested in this topic generally, we did put out a very similar post last year on the Feast of the Ascension called A Practical Lesson from the Ascension. I'll link that in the description. And if you're not already, give us a subscribe on YouTube because we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so that we can become monetized. It's going to be a long road ahead, but we will get there eventually with your support. And then finally, if you're not familiar, every Monday we put out the Saintly CEO newsletter. It's a free weekly newsletter. It comes out on Monday at 7 a.m. Central. And in there, we have a section called Heavenly Hustlers. So we're trying to identify other Catholic entrepreneurs who are building things, and we list them out there. So we're always looking for new recommendations of who we should cover, who we should mention. So there is a form in the description that you can basically nominate somebody else to be listed there. So I encourage you, if you have any other friends who are entrepreneurs who are doing something, list them out there so we can highlight them to the rest of our community. So yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. God bless you, and happy building.